Coming up on Global Business, trade momentum. China's foreign trade tops 30 trillion yuan in the first 7 months of the year, with high-tech exports accounting for nearly 60% of total growth. Tariff turmoil. U.S. President Donald Trump slaps a 15% tariff on polysilicon, a key material used in solar panels and semiconductor manufacturing. Job joke. France's jobless rate hit 8.3% in the second quarter, the highest since the third quarter of 2020, with a sharp rise among workers aged 25 to 49. Hello and welcome to this edition of Global Business on CGTN. I'm Lily Lu. We start with the latest trade numbers out of China. Customs data shows that total goods imports and exports rose more than 17% in the first 7 months of 2026, faster than the January to June pace. July alone saw a 19.2% increase. Trade with ASEAN picked up noticeably, while China-EU trade topped 3.6 trillion yuan, that is up 9.5%. Belt and Road partner trade grew by 15.5%. High-tech goods continue to perform well. Mechanical and electrical product exports rose 21%. And in July, industrial robots and 3D printer exports surged over 50% on the year, accounting for nearly 60% of monthly export growth. An official said that China's foreign trade has gained stronger momentum. Let's hear from him.
In July, China's foreign trade maintained the strong growth momentum seen in the first half of the year. The growth rate accelerated by 2.3 percentage points compared with the first 6 months, while the total value of imports and exports exceeded 4 trillion yuan for the 5th consecutive month. Private enterprises further consolidated their role as the main driver of foreign trade. Foreign invested enterprises led growth in imports and exports, while state-owned enterprises also posted gains. Together, they have created a dynamic picture of all types of businesses advancing side by side and contributing to the overall growth of China's foreign trade.
Exports from small and medium-sized enterprises remained robust during the first 6 months of the year, while the sector posting notable gains in both added value and revenue. The SME export index stood at 52.8% in June, remaining in expansion territory for 27 consecutive months. And among them, little giant enterprises, those that are specialized, refined, distinctive, and innovative, performed particularly well, with export delivery values rising more than 21% on the year first half, now further strengthening their overall competitiveness.
Small and medium-sized enterprises are leveraging local industrial foundations to address weaknesses, fortify strengths, and enhance capabilities, continuously improving product added value and influence within supply chains. This has laid a solid microeconomic foundation for stabilizing and upgrading the industrial economy and accelerating the development of new quality productive forces.
China's exports landscape is shifting fast. A new wave of high-tech products, including robots, AI devices, and innovative medicines, is now driving foreign trade, and they are emerging as the nation's new three. And among them, AI-powered smart glasses are swiftly moving beyond the prototype stage and into everyday use, while making significant inroads into global markets. Our reporter Biran has the story.
As Chinese-made AI glasses expand into global markets, this emerging export is drawing growing attention to the market for AR and ER glasses. China shipped 2.46 million smart glasses in 2025, up 87% year-on-year. Chinese brands accounted for 23% of global shipments and dominated the AR and ER segment with an 87% share. Companies including Renew and X-Rail are expanding across Europe and the US, while Xiaomi, Rocket, Imo, and Alibaba's Q1 are accelerating their overseas push. So we headed to Hangzhou, one of China's top innovation hubs, to visit the companies behind them and see the future for ourselves.
Tell me to find the Rocket office building. Okay, let's go.
Their products are betting on a wider, more lifestyle-friendly version of AI eyewear. something people might actually wear and use in daily life.
Right now, I can see the full navigation interface projected into these glasses, guiding me directly into the office building.
The smart glasses or AI glasses, whatever, will be the most popular AI terminal device to the end user and in the AI era. So I think it's going to get more popular. So maybe in the coming 3 or 5 years, everybody's going to put AI glasses on.
The rise of multimodal AI is giving the category new momentum. They become a tool for translation, navigation, note-taking, photography, entertainment, and even real-time assistance. And in scenarios that demand richer visual experiences, AR glasses are more than just assistants. They are becoming portals for work, entertainment, communication, and spatial computing.
This is our most high-end product series. It's powered by our self-developed optical engine technology combined with a spatial computing chip. With these two key technologies integrated, we believe we are at the forefront of the AI glasses industry.
AI glasses sit at the intersection of design, fashion, software, and human behavior. China's smart glasses industry has built a strong hardware foundation, with lighter designs and AI now standard. The next step is finding useful applications and turning interest into sales.
There are XR glasses, AR glasses, AI glasses, MR glasses. So these are completely different types of glasses, and I will use them in different scenarios. I think AI definitely pushed a lot of buttons for a lot of brands. That's the future.
Industry observers say AI exports now encompass a wide range of digital capabilities. As AI glasses become as comfortable as regular eyewear, improved optics, stronger AI features, and rising consumer acceptance are helping Chinese brands move the market from early interest to wider adoption. Yan, CGTN, Shanghai and Hangzhou.
Chinese robot maker Unitree has priced its IPO on Shanghai's Star Market at 150.8 yuan per share, raising about 6.1 billion yuan or $900 million. The offering values the company at nearly 61 billion yuan and marks the second largest Star Market listing this year, following Changxin Memory Technologies just 10 days ago. DeepSeek, a leading Chinese AI developer, invested over 140 million yuan in the IPO for a 2.3% stake. The two firms also signed a strategic partnership to collaborate on artificial general intelligence, high-performance robots, and large language models. You're watching Global Business on CGTN. Still to come on the program. Tariff turmoil. U.S. President Donald Trump slaps a 15% tariff on polysilicon, a key material used in solar panels and semiconductor manufacturing.
The world economy as we know it is about to change. Global business reports highlight emerging markets, developing countries, and dynamic sectors worldwide. We feature top analysts and newsmakers to provide perspectives on every facet of business. From an on-the-ground perspective, we provide you with balanced and objective assessments. Fast, sharp, and insightful. Global Business. Only on CGTN.
Shifting gears to tariffs, U.S. President Donald Trump has signed an executive order imposing a 15% tariff on products made from polysilicon and setting a floor for import prices. Polysilicon is a key material for solar panels and semiconductors. The new tariff is scheduled to take effect from December 4th this year. In the meantime, Trump directed the U.S. Commerce Department to establish a program to entice investment in domestic production of raw polysilicon. He said that the move aims to encourage the onshoring of the strategic industry for national security reasons. Well, this comes against the backdrop of a decade of expansion in global polysilicon market. A White House fact sheet shows that the U.S. share of global polysilicon production capacity fell from 50% in 2005 to less than 2% in 2024. Polysilicon is the foundational material used to manufacture solar cells and semiconductor wafers. Solar-grade polysilicon dominates the market, compared to electronic-grade polysilicon used for semiconductors, taking up 79% of the $17 billion global market. In semiconductor applications, virtually every digital gadget that we use, from phones, laptops, and cars to sophisticated missiles, they all rely on integrated circuits containing polysilicon-made products. Latest data on the U.S. economy shows that non-farm payrolls unexpectedly fell by 23,000 jobs in July, well below market expectations of an 80,000 gain. The figure follows a downwardly revised 20,000 increase in June and marks the first decline since February this year. The unemployment rate is 4.1% in July. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, job losses were concentrated in local government education and retail trade. In response, expectations for a Fed rate hike in September have retreated in the U.S. interest rate futures market. In the meantime, U.S. customs data show that the Trump administration has returned around $100 billion of tariffs to importers, and that's nearly 60% of its so-called Liberation Day tariffs announced last April. Now, these tariffs were originally levied under the U.S. International Emergency Economic Powers Act as of July this year. According to an earlier estimate by the Wharton School of University of Pennsylvania, the U.S. Customs and Border Protection is projected to hand back up to $175 billion of tariffs in total. The Trump administration is facing renewed legal action over its latest round of global tariffs. A coalition of 25 U.S. states is suing over new tariffs on goods from 60 trading partners. The complaint, filed with the U.S. Court of International Trade, seeks to block tariffs, declare them unlawful, and secure refunds for duties that are already paid. CGTN's Jim Spellman reports from Washington, D.C.
Last month, the U.S. announced a new round of tariffs on 60 economies, with nearly all imports entering the country facing levies of 10 or 12.5%. And now, 25 U.S. states are suing the Trump administration, claiming the new tariffs are illegal. The administration is using a different justification, now based on overseas labor rules. But the states argue the new tariffs are an attempt to reinstate those struck down by the U.S. Supreme Court in February. These new tariffs kick in just as a previous round of temporary tariffs expired. Several small businesses are also suing. The White House responded to the suit, saying it has the lawful authority to implement the new import taxes, and Trump has remained committed to maintaining these new blanket tariffs, as well as other higher tariffs using different justifications, claiming they are driving investment in the U.S. and boosting the economy.
From all over the world, they're building auto plants here because otherwise they have to pay tariffs. The tariffs have made our country rich and successful.
But the Yale Budget Lab estimates the tariffs are costing the average U.S. household about $1,100 a year. U.S. trading partners balked at the new tariffs.
This imposition of higher tariffs on Australia is completely unjustified, and we will continue to lobby the United States Trade Representative to remove all tariffs on Australian goods.
Analysts suggest the administration will keep pushing tariffs even as negotiations continue over numerous trade deals.
To maintain the leverage and the incentive for countries to continue to comply with the agreements that they have struck and maybe further negotiate with additional parties and have more agreements in the future. And so we do see that consistency even as the tariffs go up and down and switch authorities.
The lawsuit is filed with the U.S. Court of International Trade. The states want the new tariffs ruled illegal and any collected levies to be returned to importers. It's not clear when the court will hear the case. Jim Spellman, CGTN, Washington.
And now for more insights on the latest U.S. economic data and tariff refunds, let's bring in Mr. Chu Qian, a fellow at Belt and Road Research Center of Minzu University of China. Mr. Chu, thank you for being with us on the program. So given the new latest jobs data in the U.S., which we see new jobs created, that figure fell by 23,000 jobs, the first decline since this February, that is. Now, let's talk about that number and also combine that with the weaker ADP report that was released earlier. How do you think is the current momentum in the U.S. labor market likely to influence the Fed's monetary policy moving forward?
Well, non-farm payroll basically reduced by 23K. I think if this is out of a lot of people's expectation, and only if you add up about ADP, and that we're talking about another 54K people. So basically, it's still a very weak number when you put two numbers together. So it shows you that one signal that the enterprises in the United States are facing a situation. Okay, if there is an empty seat in the office, okay, we're going to fill that up. But I'm not going to, hire recklessly like what I did, like 2024 and 2025. So which means the enterprises currently in America are really, cautious. They're not sure about the, fundamentals. They're not sure about how it's going to go in the future. And also, even though we're seeing the stickiness in the salary, we know that there is always a manual cost, or what we call the stickiness in the price for the laborers. So I think the salary and the wage are still edging on, especially for the people who are trying to switch their jobs. But basically, you're seeing this economy has been slowing down, but the salary are still maintaining on a rather, a higher position. So I think we have been seeing this pattern before. We call this back in the 1970s. We call this stagflation. So growths are slow, but the salary are still high. So you're seeing the inflation are still be there for quite a while. So then it will translate into the third observation, that the Federal Reserve are in a predicament. So basically, the economy is slow, job market is slow, but inflation are still high. So what they're going to do? So they're caught in the middle. So it's going to be, tapering, or they're going to expand their balance sheet, or they're still going to wait until they see clearly about the future. So nobody knows. I think that explains why the prediction for the September's interest rate policy are really, really vague, just to compare it to 1 week ago. So we don't know what's going to happen next year, but I think this uncertainty is, very, very sure for the American economy right now.
Definitely. Very uncertain on that point. Now let's get to the tariffs, and especially the tariff refunds. How does the Supreme Court's recent ruling on the IEEPA constrains the White House's authority to implement tariff policies over the next several years?
Well, I think Supreme Court actually ruled, against American, the POTUS. So Trump basically, when he wants to start any kind of a tariff war against his alliances or trade partners, now is going to be, null and void. So which means that the legal foundation has already been withdrawn. And also, I think Trump actually are really in favor of what we call the ambush of the tariff. But now he cannot launch any kinds of this kind of ambush because he cannot take a reroute against about the Congress or the Senate to wage, tariff war on the partners himself. And also be seeing if he wants to use temporary or substitute tools of the tariff against the trade partners are also being, limited power. For example, the 122 clause basically has already been expired. And also the 301 investigation required about, 12 months of the investigations. So it's not as flexible and, quick responding as IEEPA. So I think in the future, lots of, major issues regarding the tariff will be subject to the investigation of the legal bodies like the Supreme Court. So which means Trump cannot have his way in the White House as well as on the Capitol Hill as he did, in the previous 2 years.
Let's stay with IEEPA. What kind of spillover effects do you think this is going to generate for U.S. businesses? And what does it mean for the future of global trade governance and international trade norms?
Well, I think this, damage has already been made and irreversible, even though I think currently there are many enterprises has already get the refund, but the number in the total numbers who get the refund is still very limited because we're talking about 33,000, 330,000 enterprises were subjected to that kind of refunding progress. But many has already been diversified in the market because they see American market as a very important danger. And also they try to, take a reroute against American market. So American market is not their destination anymore. And very sadly, what we know is that some other small and medium-sized enterprises has already been, going bankrupt because this kind of the ambush of the tariff. So the damage has already been made. And even though for the existing ones who still, operate in America and they're not bankrupt, but still the rebounding process, a very long process because the customs, financial, operation systems need upgrading, and all this kind of the tariff will have to be subjected to lots of the red tapes to go through all the numbers. So it cannot be done in a really short time. And also, a lot of people are actually not believing in American, policies because small and medium-sized enterprises, once they see the damage made by the American trade policy, so they will try all the way they can try to diversify their market, and so they can avoid this kind of an ambush. So the credibility of American trade policy in the government is the one who has really been crippled.
Great stuff. Thank you so much for your insights. That's Mr. Chu Qiang from Belt and Road Research Center, Minzu University of China. In the meantime, trade negotiations between the U.S. and Mexico continue. That is after U.S. President Donald Trump extended the deadline for a deal for another 90 days. Yet many Mexican businesses are already feeling the economic impact. CGTN's Alastair Baverstock reports.
Mexico City, where Ana Lilia Herrera has run her dressmaking business Costumodas since 2022. However, 2026 has been a struggle when it comes to sourcing the fabrics and textiles she needs for her work.
30%. Fabric prices have risen by around 30%, but the biggest problem is quality. I pay more money and receive an inferior product.
Pero en la calidad ya es más bajita.
Textiles are more difficult to source for this micro-business due to tariffs. This year, under pressure from the US, Mexico imposed higher tariffs on imports from non-free trade agreement countries, hitting more than 1,400 products, from textiles to steel. The impact is being felt throughout the global supply chain, particularly by wholesalers supplying thousands of small businesses across Mexico.
En México ya no se producen textiles.
Mexico doesn't produce enough textiles, so 90% of our stock is imported, primarily from the Middle East. The tariffs have raised import costs by around 35%.
35%.
Almanza says the current difficulties have led him to import goods through the US, increasing costs but avoiding Mexican customs, which he says can't keep up with the constantly changing regulations. President Trump may have given negotiators another 90 days to reach a broader trade agreement, delaying the threat of higher US tariffs on Mexico. But behind the scenes, Washington is still pushing Mexico to tighten its own trade policies, meaning businesses here may yet face further changes in the months ahead. Luis Rosano was involved in negotiations for the US-Mexico-Canada agreement, the USMCA, during President Trump's first term, and says his country still tries to tread the middle ground.
The US is our biggest partner. On the other hand, we also want to have equilibrium and invite other, countries. We will do our best in try to make an equilibrium between our own interest and how reality is, approaching to us.
For now, the extension gives Mexico and the United States more time to negotiate. Many businesses already coping with higher costs. Uncertainty due to changing trade regulations remains the biggest challenge. Alastair Baverstock, CGTN, Mexico City.
Let's get a quick check on some other business headlines from around the world. Japan spent over 11.7 trillion yen across $3 selling yen buying intervention rounds in the second quarter. Despite a record single-day operation, the massive market moves failed to halt the yen's downward trend against the US dollar. France's second quarter unemployment rate rose to 8.3%, the highest since the third quarter of 2020. That is according to INSEE. The number of unemployed increased by 62,000 quarter-on-quarter to 2.7 million, with the rate also up 0.7 percentage points year-on-year. Germany's June industrial output and exports both edged higher, with exports reaching a record 139.3 billion euros. However, analysts flag risks from the Middle East conflict and also heat-driven low river water levels, even as manufacturing data remains resilient. Relentless heat and lack of rainfall are pushing some of Europe's most important rivers to record low levels, with the drought now visible from space. Europe's second largest river, the Danube, has dropped to historic lows in Hungary. Our reporter Pablo Gutierrez reports.
Samuel Komori has spent his life on the Danube. Today, the captain of the Thetis guides us past Hungary's parliament along a river he knows better than most. But this summer, he says, he is navigating in unfamiliar waters.
In this year, there was very few rain, and not only in Hungary it was not raining because it doesn't matter, but in Austria, Germany, the Czech Republic, so all the places from where the Danube collects the water and brings here.
The Danube stretches nearly 2,900 kilometers from Germany's Black Forest to the Black Sea. Months of drought have left large sections too shallow for many vessels. Near Gellerhill in Budapest, Samuel points to a landmark that locals have feared for centuries, the Hunger Rock. It rises only when the river falls to extreme levels.
So when the rock comes out from the water, then the hunger comes, because then it's very little water in the Danube and also very little water on the fields.
The warning reaches far beyond Budapest. International cruise ships that normally sail through the Danube now sit tight to the docks. Passengers finish parts of their journey by bus. 70 kilometers north of Budapest, in Esztergom, 2 international cruise ships remain docked. River cruises bring around 600,000 visitors to Budapest and Hungary each year. With bookings down, towns that rely on these type of tourists will suffer and could lose millions of dollars. Upstream in Moche, Slovakia, people now walk where ships once passed. Among them is Esther, visiting from Vienna.
We don't see the boats, the cruise ships here, so it's sad.
Commercial cargo vessels also wait for the river level to rise. And for those who work on the river, fewer boats mean fewer customers. Janos has operated a ferry and a floating restaurant for 26 years near Lupa Island in Hungary. He says the river has become difficult to navigate.
You need to be very cautious. The river is full of reefs. If you don't know exactly where to go, you will run aground and destroy your boat.
Back in Budapest, Samuel watches the depth meter. Near the Hungarian parliament, it reads just 0.7, when it should be more than 7 meters. Until the waters rise again, he can go no further. Pablo Gutierrez, CGTN, along the Danube River in Hungary.
And with that, I'm wrapping up this edition of Global Business on CGTN. I'm Lily Liu in Beijing. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.